pleased to reflect on the focus of these talks, our lives in the order. So so I thought I'd call this Life as a Dharma Wayfarer, and I really like Dharma Wayfarer as a term for Dharmacharini or Dharmachari, which is the meaning of the word, because it just has a sense of going into the unknown and not really having a fixed role. You're wayfaring. So with this, I'm going to focus on just the 18 years that I've been in the order, because there's only so much time. And I thought to bring in 3 images just to help me illuminate something about my experience. So the first image is about taking practice off the cushion. And the second image is about a bus depot and a bus service. And the last image is the bumpy cartwheel experience. So if I take the idea of taking practice off the cushion, so of course meditation is a big part of our practice as Buddhists, and study, we usually are reading quite a lot and discussing things about the Dharma that the Buddha taught, and also engaging with each other in different projects. So I don't know if people know, I went to England, I worked in a right livelihood that was called Bodywise, and it was a yoga and natural health centre for 7 years, and that was a good way of living and working with people. And I've also lived in lots of different communities. So I sort of feel like this is the foundation training for my time in the order. However, as they always say, we need to take our practice off the cushion. It's not about having a great meditation practice. So I was thinking about all the things that I do in my life have been similar, you could say, as dealing with our meditation. So I'm sure everyone has their own intuitive process of becoming aware, working out how to adjust things, and opening to your heart and opening to just being present to what is. And I thought that sort of experience, you begin to realize, oh yeah, I've noticed something in the world. So I'm just going to give one example of, say, with the Sangha at the centre, there's always fabulous programs. One year I noticed there would just seem to be a lot of men talking, a lot of men running retreats. So I just chatted to, I think it was done to Chitta actually, and we just had a little chat, and it's just like the idea of taking initiative to just help contribute to something that I felt was missing or was important. Other little things, ethical sensitivity that come from our meditation and our practice with each other. I begin to notice all through different activities, different parts of my life, suddenly I might have said something, or I might not be very happy with my actions, might notice myself complaining about someone. And then I sort of reflect on, I'm not really that happy with that experience that I'm doing. So I'll then decide, I'm going to take a bit of initiative with that. So if I'm complaining about someone not contacting me, then I have actually then maybe sent them a text or do something to change those conditions. And I suppose it's just using metta as well to myself in that, because, yeah, I'm not perfect. And once again, I'm sort of realising aspects of myself that maybe don't align with my values. Also in my day-to-day life, I think there's a big thing about letting go views. So over the years, I used to be a very, very strong meditator. I loved meditation. Thought I was pretty good at meditation, but also went on a lot of retreats and got a lot of benefits out of it. But then on a really long retreat, I came up against, it was a difficult retreat in some ways because it had 2 weeks of going deeper, and then a whole lot of new people arrived for the second lot of 2 weeks. And suddenly I began to get headaches and tightness around my head. And was actually when I was coming back to Australia after my time in the UK. And I realised I wasn't really able to meditate much. So having to let go that view of I'm a strong meditator and experiment, which is also something we do in our meditation. So just thinking about, oh, well, I was very interested in puja and some of the Buddha figures. So I decided to use puja as a practice, which I really, really valued and got a lot from. And then maybe that, I got a little bit dry with that as well. And then I started using the yoga and the puja together because I feel like yoga helps me get aware of my body. So you can see how, you know, if you hold on to things too tightly even in our meditation or in our practice of Buddhism, then you can go down paths and get a bit stuck. So needing to experiment. I've done many practices now. I actually quite enjoy thinking about how to practice differently off the cushion, not necessarily as meditation or study. So lately I've been doing compassionate communication practice. So I think Maitripala was saying that there's so many speech precepts, and I've found it really hard to be able to communicate myself effectively. I get triggered. I notice that maybe other people don't enjoy some of my conversations. So it was really important to me that I learn how to better understand myself and also how to communicate with others. That's easy to hear and maybe more helpful. So practices have also been, we did the Buddha of Oz, a sort of arts play, I think it was, a musical. I remember, Bill, you were in it. A few people here were in it. And even thinking about lately my, I've done 3 years at Melbourne Uni doing a research postgraduate masters, and even that there's a lot of ethics in the research world, a lot of giving and generosity, and in a way I'm doing it because I want to give back to a natural health career that I've got a lot out of. And so, and just the ability to be patient with the whole process, to be consistent and mindful, can be quite a practice. Not one that I was always fabulous with, but, I did do my best. So that's sort of off the cushion. The other thing about off the cushion is the idea of integration. We talk about a lot with our mindfulness practice, that it integrates more of ourselves. And I think one example I can give there is, I lived in community for over 11 years. I lived by myself maybe for about 5 years, but I just really felt a missing of touch and that intimacy. And so then I spent quite a lot of time searching for a partner. And, that was like bringing in a part of me that was really important, not necessarily seen as very spiritual, but I actually think for me, it was a real integrating experience and very important in the whole picture of my order life. The latest integrating thing is getting a puppy, which I'm not sure I would suggest to people because it is a lot of work. But so I think you can use anything in your life and keep going back to the general principles to see how to work with it. So that's my off the cushion. the next part was the bus depot and the bus service. So I wanted to talk about this in the context of the order. So the order really is a microcosm of our society. There are every sort of person, like in this Zoom call. And it really is an opportunity, and it is what you make of it. So the reason I'm using the bus depot as a image was that I had a dream at one point as I was leaving England. So I'd been there for 7 years, and it was quite a big thing to come back to Australia. And I had this dream about Ratnadharani, who's my preceptor, and KM, and she was waving me goodbye, and she was sort of about to get into one bus. And I noticed that I was going down on an escalator, getting into another bus. And it was like the sense I had of this dream was like, we're both servicing our own unique contexts. And what I mean by servicing, really, I started to think about it for this talk, was like, well, you know, you're going on a bus through lots of different environments. So over the years, you go through phases of practice. So sometimes I've been more at the centre. More recently, I haven't been at the centre. I've been at the university and I've been at work. But so, and then previous to that, I was living in community and working with people, Buddhist people. So you go through phases on your journey, and the bus, people get on and they get off. And you have communications with people while they're in there, and you share different things. And I was thinking about friendships and how all the friendships over the years have come, people have come in the bus, and some have stayed for longer than others. But because your bus is moving, and because all those people are moving, and the order is constantly changing, there are more buses on the network as we speak. And sometimes there's other, you know, buses developed from, you know, a new depot. So I just thought it was a really lovely example of the buses, and also that the buses need to go into repair sometimes. So, you know, I need to look after myself and make sure that I'm in good repair. And so, yeah, I describe it as a symbol for our unique paths in a greater mandala of constant movement, which I quite liked. And really, the order is a lot of friendships. I've written here, friendships of all sorts. It's raw material for our practice of metta, challenges that I've come across, freedoms from interesting experiences. Like I've always felt like it's been important to be liked by other people, and perhaps a bit overly getting caught in that. And then at one point when I was living with one woman, I realised that she didn't really like me. And whether that was true or not, it was actually quite freeing to realise that was okay. And yeah, so the unexpected happens when you're in relationship to other people. And also having expectations of order members and expectations of anyone practicing the Buddhist path. I remember sharing a muffin with an order member who happened to be filling in for reception for Bodywise one time. And I just said, oh, would you like one of my, part of my muffin? And she took more than half of the muffin. And I was like shocked. I just did not expect that, but in a funny sort of way. It's like, that's been my experience, like often having expectations of people. And sometimes it's quite sobering, and other times, you know, you get really met. So you just never know what you're going to come across. So that sort of openness of a bus, just letting people come in and you meet there, and there is an opportunity. Probably the painful sides are when you get triggered painfully, and when you're the trigger for other people's pain. And so, you know, I can remember being angry one time about something that I'd experienced. And I know anger isn't a spiritual quality, but it's actually quite a real feeling, and I didn't catch it in time, and I was verbally a little bit rough, I suppose. And that really triggered other people's pain, because they remembered other experiences when someone had been verbally a bit loud and, you know, not happy. And so I suppose working through that and being really authentic and honest with myself and them, because there was something important under that experience of feeling anger to explore. And yeah, that takes time. And I think really reflecting on when things are quite heated, there's usually some historical things that are to do with each person's experience. And I suppose the only thing we can do with that is be compassionate to our own responses and know that, you know, there's more work to explore what went on there. And, you know, I've since come back into relationship with those people, and they with me. So I think that's why the compassionate communication has felt such an important part of my practice over the last probably 7 to 10 years. Yeah, so that is the Order and Beyond as a bus depot, looking after myself and having a service of something. So I really like the image of the Dharma is not taught, but it's caught. So the idea of having friends or having a ride in a bus with someone and sharing something with them feels in that spirit. Oh, I'm quite sobered by some of what I've said. All right. So the third image that I had was the bumpy cartwheel experience. So maybe that emotional tone's quite relevant. So when I was thinking about the buses, I was thinking one of the things that I've loved about the Dharma is the idea that dukkha, the wheel that is not quite round, is the experience. And although we don't necessarily always like it, this is one of the truths that the Buddha taught us. And it's really made sense to me, and I've come to understand that teaching a little bit more over the years, and maybe even expect the bumpy ride that I experience through my day-to-day and year-to-year. And even when we're practicing the Dharma, doesn't necessarily mean we won't experience the bumpy cartwheel, because it's through a whole set of conditions. Yeah, I thought, well, the Dharma way for me is I'm in a bus with a few cartwheels. I'm maturing how I handle that bumpy ride. I feel like there's a constant tension of practice. So I feel, you know, how the gap in the 12 nidanas is such an important teaching. If you can hold the feeling before the craving or aversion, then you might head up into the positive spiral. Well, I do feel like holding that bumpy cartwheel ride with this sense of tension, that I'll notice all those niggles, or I'll notice feeling something. And yeah, my practice has been to attempt to hold that better and better with the kindness and the awareness and the spirit of integrity. And that I'm going forth into unknown territory. along with friends, but they change along the way. And there's always new people coming in the Sangha, and people in different phases. And sometimes you'll spend more time with people at one point in time. So, but the beauty of our community is that there is this spirit of friendship. And I realise that it's not about becoming a perfect person or order member, but it's being able to be with the imperfect, the bumpy cartwheel. And so whatever I do, wherever I find my time is being spent, there's always a way to practice. So the patience to do with waiting for your manuscript to, you know, be looked at by your supervisors is a pretty important practice, and and necessary in that bumpy path. And I just thought, well, one thing about being able to hold this space is I realise how many mistakes that I make again and again, because I'm more aware. And they do say with positive emotion, we're able to handle more of that. So I think being able to experience a bumpy cartwheel, include acknowledging my own mistakes with as much compassion as I can bring, and being able to, I think with the Dharma, there is a sense of meaning that it brings for me anyway, whether it be the beautiful bodhisattvas of Green Tara, imagining Green Tara and her beautiful, calm, still and kind presence being with me in a difficult moment, or whether it's being able to know that you know, my friends here or wishing me well while I give my talk. There's always some beautiful meaning. Or as I'm driving to work at the moment, I work in a hospital, and just even seeing beauty on the roads as you drive to work in quite an oppressive time, as we would all agree. There's just many ways to practice wherever you find yourself. So I think that probably is exactly what I wanted to say. So finding meaning and bringing heart to dukkha and the truth of constant change, and finding meaning in that is my experience of being an order member over the last 18 years. So thank you, everyone.